morning, you gorgeous lot, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Vicky and my channel is everything motherhood, fitness, fashion, lifestyle, bit of everything. So if you like what you see, please stick around. Today is a bit of a different video. It's a bit of a chatty video and it's all about postnatal anxiety, something that I have suffered with this time round. If you are new to my channel, a little bit about myself. I'm a mum to 2 boys. I have 1 boy that is 5 and a newborn that is just over 8 weeks old. So I have suffered with a bit of mental health since having my baby, and the reason for this video is to try and help others that maybe have suffered the same. If this isn't your thing, I don't expect you to watch it, and this also isn't a sympathy vote or a video to try and get sympathy. It's just my experience and how I felt. Up until now, I haven't been ready to talk about anything because I felt too vulnerable. I didn't want to put something on the internet for people to comment on which potentially could have made me feel worse and would have affected my recovery. But I now feel ready to talk about it. I'm not completely recovered, but I am at a stage where I can talk about it and I've come to terms with what was happening to me. If you think that this might be something that you possibly could be going through, please carry on watching because I hope that this helps you. So I'm just going to start with how mine came about. I apologise if I'm repeating myself, if I've said this in another video or other people know what's gone on with me. So I had my baby just over 8 weeks ago. It was a pretty traumatic labour. So we had emergency forceps, I lost a lot of blood, my placenta had abrupted, but it was all good in the end. And actually when I left the hospital, I felt completely fine about it. The hospital were very, very good at not really explaining the severity of the situation in order to not scare you. So I felt totally fine, I felt in control of everything and left really happy with my baby. Obviously I was sore and I needed to recover, but I was so, so happy. My baby is the most content little baby, so the first few days were just bliss at home. I loved being at home with my new family and I was on cloud 9. Unfortunately, on day 5 when I went for my 5-day checkup, I was actually in the midwife. So I've already spoken about what happened in another video, but I just had this massive bleed, which turns out was nothing to worry about. But I personally feel that the start of my problems started there because it wasn't dealt with correctly. Now, I'm not putting anybody down, but in the room at the time that it happened, we had a healthcare assistant. Obviously it happened, she rang the bell and a midwife came in. Now the healthcare assistant, she was one of those people that she was lovely, but she just kept saying the wrong things. So she said things like, I said, is that normal, is that normal? Because I was so scared, and she went, no, it's not normal. If it happens again, ring 999. So of course I'm there like, what? Pardon? Ring 999, okay. Don't I need to go to hospital? No, no. And then this other midwife came in who was nice, but she just was really straight-faced, didn't really have any empathy, couldn't really understand how I really felt with all those hormones flying around and all that blood that I'd lost. That to me seemed like a huge amount. Like, if you are new here, it was enough to saturate all my clothes and pool on the floor. It was, like, bearing in mind I had a thick maternity padding as well, and that was saturated. It was a lot to me, and all the midwife said once she checked me over is said, go put your feet up, have a cup of tea. And I said, don't I need to go to hospital? And she was like, no, I know it looks like a lot of blood, but blood looks more than it is. And that was sent on my way. Now, because I wasn't dealt with correctly, I then admitted myself to hospital and I was checked over for 24 hours. And as much as the doctors and the nurses tried to put my mind at ease, nobody could say to me, this is not going to happen again. And nobody really explained, well, they did try and explain what it was, but they can't tell you what it was because they weren't there, the people in the hospital, I mean, because they weren't there when it happened. So they didn't measure the blood, they didn't see what came out with it. They couldn't really give me a definitive explanation. So I then spent the next week, 10 days thinking, why did this happen to me? What's going on? No, this hasn't happened to anyone. It didn't happen with my first baby. Then 10 days after the bleed, I passed a huge clot. And when I say huge, to me it was huge. So it was the length of the palm of my hand and about 1 inch wide, which was huge. And when I felt that coming out of me, I thought, oh great, what's going on with my body now? I'm gonna start bleeding again. And I basically spent the next 2-3 weeks not wanting to be alone. So all my friends and family had to do shifts. And unfortunately I spent my time on Google, which I shouldn't have done. Couldn't even go to the school on my own, couldn't do anything on my own. I just did not want to be alone. I was petrified that every time I saw blood that it was going to continue and it wasn't going to stop. So it was awful, absolutely awful. And I went to see numerous doctors. Then what happened is I stopped bleeding at about week 3, and the more I stopped bleeding, the more I started to believe that it wasn't going to happen to me again. But my anxiety spread onto every other aspect of health that could possibly go wrong with me after having a baby. So I've been in the doctors so many times, probably 2 to 3 times a week, seeing different doctors saying, I've got this wrong with me, I've got that wrong with me. If I'm honest with you, I still believe that there might be something wrong with me, but I'm not as awful as I was. So while this is all going on, I had an awful episode of a panic attack. Now, if anyone has suffered a serious panic attack, you will understand what I mean. I was at home. I think I was talking about labour with my friend. I was fine. I'd had a very anxious day, but when she was there, I was okay. I was drinking a cup of tea. I was dunking a biscuit in it. I felt okay. And all of a sudden, I felt faint. So like the blood left my head and my legs went like jelly and I had to go and sit down. I instantly went into a panic attack. Not that I knew that's what was happening to me at the time. I couldn't breathe. I felt like someone was on my chest. And honestly, I thought I was gonna die. And I know that sounds hideous, and I know that sounds like I'm exaggerating, but honestly, I thought that was it for me. And I looked at my friend and I said, what's happening to me? What's happening to me? So this is the second time in 3 weeks or 4 weeks that I felt like I was losing my life. So the first time was the bleeding and the second time was this panic attack. So we phoned 111 and they sent an ambulance out. Well, they sent a paramedic out, the first response. It was scary. It was really scary. Thankfully, my baby didn't know any the wiser, and my 5-year-old was with his friends, so he didn't even know any of this was going on, which was really good because that was my biggest concern, was affecting the children. But yeah, anyway, the paramedic came and just said you'd had a major panic attack. And it was at that moment I said to myself, I have to get a grip, because if I don't get a grip, I am going to lose the person I am and I'm gonna go insane and I just won't be able to keep control of this, and I've got to do it for my children. So from that really scared me. That really scared me. And I've had so many like really dark moments since all of this has been going on. It's been awful. And I haven't enjoyed the time with my baby because I've obviously enjoyed him and he's been amazing. But I haven't been able to go anywhere or do anything because I felt so anxious, and it's affected so many points of my life. I haven't taken my son swimming for 8 weeks because, my first son, I mean my 5-year-old, because I was too scared to go and sit in the swimming pool because I thought that sitting in a really warm environment would make me bleed. I mean, how crazy is that? My thoughts, my mind. So with anxiety, the symptoms that I physically feel from anxiety are so scary. And if you're watching this and you are questioning your symptoms, I'm going to run through exactly what I have. So I feel lightheaded a lot of the time, and it doesn't have to be when I'm having an anxious thought. So it took me a long time to accept that the lightheadedness was because I'm anxious. I still don't believe it 100%, but I'm about 80-90% there. I'm having various tests done at the doctor's next week just to rule out anything else. But I feel lightheaded when I talk about it, when I talk about my labour. I feel lightheaded when I'm in a social situation where I feel a bit worried in my subconscious mind. I might not outwardly be worried. So if anyone's watching this that says, but I feel like that when I'm not even worried, well, that was what I kept saying to the doctor. I kept saying, but I'm not worried and I feel lightheaded. And he was like, you know, it's normal to feel like that. Your subconscious mind is anxious and it's bringing on these emotions. So I have lightheadedness, I get random pins and needles or like tingling in my face and my head, which is really weird. And also down sometimes all over my body I get this sort of tingling sensation. Tight chest, really tight chest pains, similar to mimic that of a heart attack, so you really do feel like something's wrong. I've actually got some chest pains while I'm talking to you now, and it just is horrible. You get heart palpitations, your heart racing. All of these symptoms make you feel like you've got something really wrong with you, wrong with your health. And I still am so concerned that I've got something wrong with me, even though to every doctor that I've seen, which FYI, the NHS, I owe my everything to. They have been amazing. My local doctor's surgery, as soon as I phone them and say, I've just had a baby, I'm feeling anxious, they get me in the same day. They get me in within like 2 hours. And I've recently met a doctor that I just absolutely clicked with, and he was the one that made me feel better. He was like, right, okay, how does your lightheadedness feel? How does this feel? How does that feel? And he said to me, any other symptoms you get, you come and see me. Don't feel like you can't. And that's made me not want to go in, if that makes sense, because I felt like he really listened to me and he really believed that I was feeling this. And he said to me, you know, Vicky, postnatal depression is spoken about so much and is diagnosed every day, but postnatal anxiety is not spoken about enough, and it is a real thing. So your anxiety doesn't have to be triggered by a trauma like I suffered. It could be triggered by just the hormones of having a baby. Now, I know that my hormones did not help me at all. I wouldn't accept that it was my hormones when people told me, but it was. And it is, and my hormones are still all up in the air. You know, I'm 8 weeks postpartum and I still don't feel fully recovered. Body, mind, everything. I don't feel fully there. Don't get me wrong. I feel so much better because I'm coming on here and talking to you about it. Getting back to physical symptoms. So physical symptoms are completely real and they mimic that of something seriously wrong with you. But what I would suggest is, if you are going through this, go to your doctor. They do not make you feel like you're being a nuisance. So I was prescribed some antidepressants from the doctor, which I haven't taken yet. Now, when I say I was prescribed them, I asked for them. They didn't recommend I took them because they think I can come out of this on my own and through some therapy. But I've got them in the cupboard. They're there as a placebo, and of course I will take them if I need to. But they are there to be used. So if anyone feels out of depth, out of control, and they need to use something, go and speak to the doctor. Please don't suffer in silence, because it really doesn't just get better on its own sometimes, you know. Time is a great healer. For me, because mine is a trauma, the further I get away from that trauma, the more I kind of forget about it, if that makes sense. And the more tests I have at the doctors to tell me I'm okay, the better I feel about myself. Again, if that makes sense. And also, the more that time goes on, my body is recovering from having a baby. One thing I had to keep telling myself is that I've just been through a major thing. Now, labour in itself is such a big thing, whether you have a vaginal delivery or a C-section. It is such a huge thing for the body to adjust to, let alone if you have a traumatic labour like I had. So I spoke about it in another vlog, but Spencer was pulled out with forceps in an emergency. So my body is gonna feel painful and it's not gonna recover as quickly as last time. I'm also 5.5 years older. So again, if that is you and you're analysing every ache and every pain, I'm gonna do a separate video on postnatal recovery because I really think that's important. But I would analyse all of that, and actually it's all normal. It's normal to feel these aches and pains. Your anxiety might come from your baby, looking after your baby, being scared. But again, if you need to go to the doctor to check your baby over, to make you feel better, do it. You know, that's what we pay our taxes for. We've got the amazing NHS that will help us at these dark moments. Now, prior to this, I hadn't been in the doctors for 4 years. So I think I banked up a lot of time with the NHS. I obviously know there's sick people out there, and I felt like I was wasting their time sometimes, but mental health is a sickness. It is an illness. It's a real thing. And if you don't take control of it, it will take control of you, and then it will affect your everyday life. So the thing that I'm doing to recover, so I am being kind to myself. I'm having days at home where I don't need to go out and I don't need to make the effort to see people, because that made me feel anxious. I would feel anxious about being in a situation with people I didn't really know and then possibly having a panic attack. So I cancelled baby group so many times because I was scared of having a panic attack in front of people I didn't know. So I'm now being kind to myself and just telling myself that that's okay. I've booked on to do CBT therapy with the NHS, which I'm still waiting for my appointment to come through. It should be through in the next week or two, so I will update you on that. I'm talking to anyone and everyone I possibly can. I've got great support around me. If you haven't got support around you in terms of friends, family, partner, please just reach out to someone. Reach out to me. I will link my Instagram down below. If you want to send me a direct message, I am more than happy to talk to you. I have met some amazing, amazing ladies, and this is another part of my recovery. So many women have messaged me on Instagram and offered me support when they didn't need to. And it's people that had been through a similar thing. And it's so nice to talk to someone at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning when you're feeling out of control and they say, it's okay, I felt like that. I felt exactly like that. I had those symptoms. I feel the way you feel. You need to do this, you need to do that. Amazing. I also downloaded an app called Headspace, which is a meditation app. Don't knock it till you've tried it. It does really help, and what it does is it trains your mind to say that it's okay for your mind to go off and think about something, but let's bring it back, and it trains you to be able to like bring your mind back to normal thinking. So those are the things that I have done to help myself recover. But to be honest, the main thing is time. Time is a great healer. So give yourself time, be kind to yourself, do the little things that you need to do, talk to people, go and get the help you need. Please message me if you need to, like I've said. So that is really it. That's my struggles, how I've been coping, how I'm still dealing with it. I will update you on the CBT after this video. I really, really hope this helped some people. If it did and you liked what you saw, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and give this video a big thumbs up. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for being patient, because I know it's a long video and I've babbled, but I could go on for hours about what's happened. So I hope I've managed to get all the information in there that I need to do. Thank you all again for watching, and take care of yourself. See you in the next video.